I came home from graduation carrying my cap, my gown, my pride, and my exhaustion. My phone buzzed with a single message from the family group chat. Congrats! No gifs, no emojis, no photos. Just words plain and small. On the counter, a frozen pizza lay in its box, the edges slightly curled from the microwave's uneven heat. The smell of plastic and cardboard mingled faintly with the lingering aroma of a hurried dinner someone had forgotten to finish. A week ago, the house had been different. My brother's graduation. Fireworks in the backyard, a drone circling overhead capturing every laugh, every cheer. Friends and relatives crowded into the yard. Cameras flashing, voices raised in celebration. He had been the center. I had been in the periphery, smiling politely, invisible, but still included in the margins. I put my bag down slowly, letting the contrast sink in. A drone hovering over a pizza box would never feel right. The words, "You're not really the celebrating type," echoed from my mother's voice when I'd asked why. I didn't reply. I didn't argue. I didn't grab a slice. I didn't want to taste the flavor of indifference. I picked up my bag, slinging it over my shoulder like a shield, and a declaration at once. The door closed behind me with a soft click, a punctuation mark in a sentence my family had been writing without me. Outside, the air was cooler than I remembered. The sun was dipping, and the street smelled faintly of autumn leaves and exhaust. I walked. Without direction, without intention to return. Each step echoed my internal reckoning. I had been overlooked, minimized, expected to accept the leftovers of attention while someone else received the show. This time, I would not participate. Hours later, my phone buzzed. Aunt texting, "Why's everyone freaking out?" I didn't answer. My absence had already started to ripple. The family's panic wasn't about my safety, or even my feelings. It was about the void I left in their usual choreography, the gap in their narrative of control. I thought about my mother, standing in the kitchen, thinking she had handled celebration and emotion with care. I imagined the quiet frustration in my father's voice as he scanned messages, trying to maintain order, trying to explain the absence. And my brother, likely pacing the living room, wondering why no one was coordinating my return. The leverage I had wasn't loud or dramatic. It was subtle, invisible. My departure forced them to confront what they had dismissed when I was present. That recognition is not owed, and attention cannot be substituted with convenience. I wandered through the city streets until darkness swallowed the edges of the day. Lights reflected off wet asphalt from an earlier drizzle. The world moved around me, indifferent yet alive, indifferent yet fairer than the house I had left behind. I didn't think about retribution. I didn't want a confrontation. I only wanted acknowledgement, real acknowledgement, not the symbolic gestures that had come before. The frozen pizza, the text, the shrug, it had all been enough to make my point without words. The night deepened. I found a bench beneath a street lamp, its light warm against the chill. My bag rested beside me, heavy with books, with graduation mementos, with a new sense of self. I let the silence stretch, the stillness reminding me that absence speaks louder than presence when presence is diminished. By leaving, I had shifted something. I hadn't rewritten the family hierarchy, and I hadn't demanded apology or change. But I had made clear where I belonged, outside the easy dismissal, outside the assumption of compliance. My power wasn't dramatic, it was quiet, undeniable, and procedural. The family would notice, they would talk, speculate, wonder. And in that wondering, they would confront their own patterns, their own choices, the disparities they had normalized. I didn't need to be there to do it. I watched the world pass by, cars, people, lights blinking in rhythm. I let my chest unclench, letting the tension of invisibility dissolve in the rhythm of steps and distant chatter. For the first time in a long while, I felt the clarity of boundary, not as punishment, not as protest, but as an assertion of presence in its truest form. I didn't know when I'd return. I didn't know what would change. I only knew that I had claimed my space, my dignity, and quietly, my right to exist without being overlooked. And for now, that was enough.